could. It's going to open up $2.50. Wow. Please tell me I have short puts in this. I have one short put and then a call ratio spread. The call ratio spread is not going to like that move of $2.50 up. Call ratio spread, the max profit area on a ratio spread, we should actually talk about this. Ratio spreads, I do like these trades, but they can be confusing sometimes to analyze. So let's go turn off the short put and just look at the call ratio spread by itself. So call ratio spread looks something like this, right? We're trading here. Let me zoom out a little bit. See, okay, there we go. So this is current price, and you know, if this is the T0 line, the orange line, like this is if we made this move today, you know, we made a big move up of say $20, you know, I'm going to lose hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars, you know, on a move like that if it happened in one day. But obviously, if things go slowly in this direction, you can see what the expiration line is. You know, this green area, the colored green area, is your essentially expiration P&L. Right, and this orange line, the T0 line, as we get closer to expiration, that orange line starts creeping up toward the green area, and it eventually becomes this profit line here, right? It essentially becomes what you see here, and I can show you this, make this as big as I can, and can I move over? No, I can't. That's annoying, but let's go forward. I'm just going to go forward a day. You can see, you know, as I click a day forward, that T0 line slowly merges until it becomes at expiration. Well, this isn't quite expiration, but you can see it starts filling in this green area. And if I go forward a couple more days, it eventually becomes, on the last day at expiration, it becomes this. So if you get a slow move up, this call ratio spread could be nicely profitable. If you get a really fast move up, though, right, let's go back to what that move today would look like. You know, a move of, say, this $2.50 move is going to cost me, I don't know. Well, it says it's only going to cost me about $10 today, but, you know, it's something to be aware of. We got to move up of $5, you know, it'd cost me like $70. We got to move up of $10, you know, you're looking at more like a couple of hundred, $250, you know. And it goes up from there, obviously, as far as your losses. So you don't mind a slow move up. Like if it creeps up a buck or 50 cents, you know, every day, it's all right. You know, you're not too worried about it. But if it starts making big moves up of, you know, $3, $4, $5 every day, you're going to get to this way too soon. And yeah, you're going to get hurt on it. I'm back to green on the year, so that's a good thing, right? It's one of those things, you know, it was bad at the time, but it's one of those things you got to stick with it. One of the things, and I've made a couple of videos about this, is you got to be careful never to pull yourself out of the market, especially during bad times, because that's the tendency that some folks tend to make. They'll have that 20% drawdown in February or March, you know, and see their account value lose 20%. And then they'll just say, well, I'm pulling all my money out and staying out of the market for a while. And then you miss out on the 27% gain that the market made right after that, right? So you've got to be careful of, you know, it's like I always say, you can't call tops, you can't call bottoms. It's the same thing with these swings in the market. You know, after a crash, the worst thing you can do after a crash is to just completely pull yourself out of the market. Like, never do that. Ever. You see this every single time one of these things happen. We saw it in COVID. The market loses like 30%, 35% or whatever over a few weeks. And by the end of the year, the market was positive for the year, right? The rest of the year. So like February, March were really ugly. And then you had the next, 8 months or whatever. And by the end of the year, it had erased that and then some, right? And so yeah, questions, comments, trade ideas, anything you guys want to chat about before I get out of here. Mark is already asking, is it better to do 60 to 90 DTE rather than 45? I like doing 60 DTE for most things, for any kind of short options trade. So your short put, short strangles, credit spreads, iron condors. I typically always do those at 60 DTE. That's just me. If you want to do them at 45, you certainly can. You want to go out to 80 or 90. You certainly can. Some people go out to 120. You know, for me, 60 seems like a sweet spot, because at 60 DTE, you can get quite a bit out of the money. The more time on a trade, the higher price the options, a little higher premium, further out of the money. Plus, you have a little more time to make adjustments. If a trade goes badly against you, especially early in the trade. Say I put on a trade at 60 DTE and 5 days later the stock crashes 20%. Well, I still got 55 days on the trade, right? So that's I've got a little bit more wiggle room. It'll be much easier to roll that option if I need to, as far as roll price and expiration. So yeah, I like being a little further out in time. The riskier the trade, especially, I like giving myself plenty of time. I do 90 DTE in the futures, just because that's what I do. I really don't know. Like 90 DTE, though, on like the market ETFs seems right. I like to give myself even more time on those. The reason is, it's just because there is some risk, especially with the futures, like the ES and the NQ and the MES, MNQ and all of that. As far as buying power fluctuating greatly, especially if the market does crash while you're holding on to things. So I really like giving myself time on those. So instead of doing 60 DTE like I do in everything else, you know, when I sell puts in the MES, I typically give myself a little extra time, give myself an extra month. So I do it at 90 DTE. Is it better though? It's hard to say anything is better because it's all linear. Like, you know, as you play around with the expirations. So let's take SPY instead of doing ES or SPX. It's just too many strikes. So SPY, like if you want to go to a 45-day kind of cycle and sell a 20 delta put, for example, and SPY is trading at 616 as of this second, you know, and the 20 delta put at the 45-day cycle is going to be $31 out of the money. You get a credit of $438, buying power reduction $9,200, and it's all linear. Like if you go out in time, things are going to change a little bit. Like, you know, I like giving myself 60 days, so let's go find the 20 delta put with an extra 14 days here, an extra 2 weeks. Get a bigger credit, right? 535 credit. Buying power reduction is a little less because I've got more time on the trade, so it's not as risky, so they can give you a little bit more buying power relief. A little further out of the money, right? I'm another $4 out of the money, the 581 versus the 585, by giving myself more time. And, you know, if I go 90 days, 92 is the closest, and just doing 20 deltas, just whatever deltas you're comfortable with. But you can compare if you like always selling 15 deltas or 10 deltas or whatever. But you can see at 92 days, I can get all the way down to the 572 strike. You know, further out of the money, get a bigger credit, less buying power because now I've added more time on the trade. So that's the thing. You get bigger credit. You can get further out of the money for the same deltas, for the same percentages of finishing in the money, right? Now, obviously, potentially you're going to have to spend a little more time in the trade, right, to get to 50% max profit, assuming you're taking profit at 50%. But a lot of times you get to 50% pretty quick, even on a 90-day trade. Like getting to 50% is quicker on a 45-day trade, but it's not crazy. Like, and we can do some back testing. Let's actually back test something here. Let's back test. We'll do a short put, last 5 years. For me, I like doing, like one of my go-to trades is selling like a 10 delta put at 90 DTE in the MES. Can't back test the futures, but I can back test SPY. So let's do 10 deltas, 90 DTE. And we'll do it every week on Monday. Exit at 21 DTE or 50% max profit. Yeah, I'm not going to use the VIX as an entry condition. Yeah, we're just going to put one on every week for the last 5 years. See how 10 deltas at 90 DTE does. Mainly, I want to know what our average time in this trade is. It's not going to be 90 days, not even going to be half of 90 days, right? It's going to be, I think you'll be shocked at how often you get out of these things within a week or two. Obviously, the back test is going to be a good back test as far as SPY tends to go up. Any bullish strategy, doesn't matter, pick a bullish strategy. It's going to look great on SPY. So we know the short put's going to do well. But I just want to see average time in the trade. Let's go to the details. Average days in the trade, 28. So With those conditions, as far as 90 days, 10 deltas, taking it off at either a 50% winner or at 21 days, our average time in the trade is 28. And in this case, with those deltas and 90 DTE, 10 delta at 90 DTE, we put on 460 trades. We won on 449. We only lost on 11 trades out of 460, putting them on every week for the last 5 years. And almost all of those were right here. It was this year. The February and March, meltdown of this year was about 8 of those 11 losing trades. Now, realistically, you're probably not going to lose on all of those trades in real life, because after you lost on the first 2 or 3, you're probably not putting on the next one for a while. You're waiting for a reversal in the market. At least I would. I would probably stop selling puts at that point. So realistically, you're probably not going to take 11 losses. You're probably going to, well, but also some of the wins you also are probably going to get out of early. Like, this is a computer back test, right? It's a machine doing this. In real life, there are going to be some winning trades you don't take and some losing trades you don't take. And then there are going to be trades where you violate the rules a little bit for various reasons, maybe because of buying power changing on you drastically or whatever. But of course, you can't take everything into account. But yeah, it's a great little back test, right? 460 trades, lost on only 11. So let's do it with less time. Let's cut it in half. I'll keep the same deltas, and I'll keep the 50% 21 DTE. So this is the tasty rules itself. Deltas, delta is your choice, but everything else is the tasty way. Let's just see if this changes anything. I'm not sure. I'm running this with you, so we'll see what the results look like. I would imagine, though, we're going to have a few more losses. It would make sense to have a few more losses because you're going to be in the trade in a much shorter time period. Gives you a lot less time to hit that 50% target, for example. The 5-year back test might have been too long. It's taking a little while. It's a lot of trades to calculate over the last 5 years. But luckily, I only did one a week. I didn't do one every day. Then the back test would take a couple of minutes. Well, I think that is the end. Okay, go to details. Yeah, you see number of trades, 473. We won on 425. It means we lost on 48 trades. So, yeah. And that's what I kind of expected. That's probably why over the years I've gradually added time to my trades. Like, I used to stick to the 45-day rule with Tasty, and I still often tell people, especially newer traders, stick to those rules because it makes sense. But now, I like recommending 60 days. And if you wanted to go 90 days, I certainly don't mind 90 days. I certainly do it on some products. But the more time you give yourself, the better, right? Because now you're taking quite a few more losses, where that 90-day trade could have held out, and some of these trades that were losers would have reversed on you.